Right now on News 4 at 6, a delay in action. Catholic leaders are holding off on any steps towards solving the clergy sex abuse problem in the church. Tonight, we're taking a closer look at the order from the Vatican.
And keeping an eye on some accumulating snow for some areas, nuisance snow for others, just in time for the morning commute. Tomorrow we'll have the latest coming up.
And from the battlefield to the ball field, we'll show you the program giving veterans and service members the chance to make the right calls after their time in the service.
Live in high definition, this is Western New York's news leader. Now, News 4 at 6.
And we begin tonight at 6 with a live look over downtown Buffalo. Tomorrow, this picture may look a little bit more snowy.
But it's really down to the south of us where we can expect that wintry blast. Our chief meteorologist, Todd Santos, is here to tell us what we can expect for tomorrow. Todd?
Yeah, you know, it's all about timing. I mean, everything in life, but also in weather. And in this case, the chance for snow showers to get up toward Buffalo, it's likely to hit right around the coldest part of the morning. So I do expect to find some minor coatings, you know, I don't want to spoil this ahead of time, but for the Buffalo morning commute, you may find numbers of around a ½ inch, not big time numbers. And these are our current temperatures. This is part of the thinking with this. We'll have a series of fronts roll through, and then later tomorrow we'll see some lake effect potential. But looking at it this way, down in the hills where we're starting to see temperatures cooling down, it's still mild in Wellsville, but there are some areas already in northern Allegheny County that have dropped back into the mid-30s. So I figured I'd show the model in early tomorrow morning because this really sets the stage. You know, by this time, 3 a.m., we'll already see snow down in the hills. So areas from Allegheny and Cattaraugus, as well as Wyoming counties, you may find 1 to upwards of 2 inches to start off the day. While areas to the north, I mean, there are starting temperatures up around Buffalo. We're not even likely to actually hit freezing tomorrow morning. So that's a key piece of this forecast. Keeping that in mind, here's the winter weather advisory that starts tonight at 10 p.m. and goes through 6 p.m. tomorrow for those 3 counties that I just mentioned. Best chance areas to find some of the better accumulation. It's not out of the question for places like Holland or Springville to get some coatings, just they're going to likely be under advisory criteria. So here's a look at some limited light snow to the south. A lot of this stuff is flurries to some lighter snow, falling in temperatures that are above freezing. For the most part, there was 1 pocket of actually freezing temperatures in northeastern Cattaraugus County last check. And I'll show you the model because this at least gives you the idea. Some of this rolls in as temperatures are still mild, and then we start to cool things down. You have a longer window of opportunity across the southeastern hills. That's why you're likely to see more out of this. And by more, it's 1 to 2 tonight, another 1 to 2 tomorrow, and some minor coatings tomorrow evening. We'll take a look at the cumulative numbers coming up. But notice into Buffalo, some of the lower elevations, initially this mixes over with some rain, and then I think you'll see at least some minor snow coatings. It's just the timing that's more of a nuisance than anything. With that ½ inch potential to upwards of an inch, once you get just a little bit east and northeast of the city, where you get, the higher elevations, slightly higher elevations, you may find some of those minor coatings where you have to brush off the car, and back roads that aren't heavily traveled may be a little slick. But I think a lot of the main roads are going to be more of the wet to treated side of things. So there's a look at the winds, mostly light. Later tomorrow, they'll pick up out of the northwest, and that'll drive lake effect on the backside of this system. So the best chance areas to find better snow tomorrow morning, southeastern hills, cool temperatures. I wouldn't quite call it cold. We'll take a stock of all of the snow potential for tonight and tomorrow coming up next. Don, Jackie.
There was an abrupt change of plans today at the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops in Baltimore.
Now, the plan was the vote on 2 proposals to address the clergy sex abuse crisis that is rocking the church. But as News 4's Marissa Perlman tells us, a message from the Vatican changed the entire conference. Marissa?
Don, the president of the conference opened the group's national meeting by announcing a delay for several months on any action on new steps to address the clergy sex abuse crisis. Bishops were told this request comes straight from the Vatican. The bishops are meeting through Wednesday in Baltimore and had been expected to consider several steps to combat abuse. Now, that includes a new code of conduct for themselves and the creation of a special commission to review complaints against the bishops. Now, the bishops will continue to talk about the proposals, which were drafted in September by the Bishops' Administrative Committee, but there will be no immediate vote. The president of the conference calls it quizzical that he received a last-minute message from Rome calling for this delay on the vote. The papal nuncio was there too, saying it's time for papal leaders to take responsibility.
With humility, and apostolic courage, we must accept our responsibility as spiritual fathers.
It is true to say that the vast majority of abuse cases occurred decades ago, but the pain is daily and present. The number of new...
Now, Mitchell Garabedian, lawyer and victim advocate, responded to this delay today, saying in part, the delay in voting by the bishops indicates how little the Catholic Church cares about protecting children and helping victims to try to heal. The conference is just a continuation of the cover-up. Now, representatives from the Buffalo Catholic Diocese tell us the bishops are in a day of prayer today, but we should expect reaction from Bishop Richard Malone by tomorrow. The conference and discussion on the sex abuse crisis goes through this Wednesday. Marissa Perlman, News 4.
Emerald South Nursing Home is shutting its doors for good. They were taken over by new receivership 2 weeks ago.
But just last week, the facility was slapped with a $10,000 fine from the state after a patient death there. News 4's Al Vaughters has more on this shutdown. Al?
Jackie and Don, the Emerald South closing was just announced today, and officials are still breaking the news to residents and staff at the nursing facility. After 2 weeks in charge, the state-appointed receiver has decided there is no chance of saving the aging Delaware Avenue facility. In the last 2 years, 2 patients have died violent deaths at Emerald South. A female patient was beaten by another resident. The other jumped to his death from a third-floor window. Civic leaders have harshly criticized the New York City operators who also own the Emerald North nursing home, which will stay open and absorb some of the staff and residents from the South facility. A number of other changes are taking place this week, including the delivery of new state-of-the-art beds.
Some of our folks have worked there 30 years more. So this is very tough for them and certainly for the people they care for. But we hope it's a new beginning, and it's a positive, and it's certainly, as I said, not a bad thing that the former operators are no longer running the Emeralds.
Hobler told us not all of the Emerald South staffers can be absorbed into Emerald North, but other nursing homes have job openings and have been showing an interest. The state health department has to approve plans for closing Emerald South, but officials are trying to get approval this week so they can start moving residents out immediately. The Grand Healthcare System, the appointed receiver, is in the process of buying Emerald North and the state licenses for both facilities. Al Vaughters, News 4 at 6.
Well, News 4 is celebrating Veterans Day today. We're also celebrating all those who still put on the uniform every day.
And tonight, we're introducing you to Tech Sergeant Travis Packard of the U.S. Air Force. He's already living one dream, and because of a new program, he might soon live another. Chris Servatos is here with his story.
Hi there, Don. For Tech Sergeant Packard, it's all about providing a service, he told me. Service to his country, his family, and service to the game he loves, and that's football. Thanks to a new initiative started by one of the game's most recognizable faces, Packard is doing it all.
By day, this is Tech Sergeant Travis Packard's life. The town of Tonawanda native is a supply worker with the 914th Logistics Readiness Squadron at the Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station.
Anytime maintenance needs a part to fix an aircraft or have an equipment issue, they come to us. It's very fulfilling when you see an aircraft get off the ground that 30 minutes ago was broken. It's a good team effort between maintenance and supply in the warehouse.
On top of being a husband and a father, Packard was looking for more. The former Kenny East football player signed up to begin officiating the game he grew up playing.
I was going through the class to become a new official, and George Santora sent out an email and said, look at this program.
It was a shirt that was made up for me when I retired, and it was all the games that I had worked that year.
This is George Santoro, a Hamburg resident who used to officiate college football. He still does some high school games locally.
Throughout the country, there was a shortage of officials.
Travis Packard.
Nice to meet you, boy.
So when people like Packard express interest in officiating, Santoro rejoices. That program he recommended the Tech Sergeant look into is called the Battlefields to Ballfields program, which Santoro runs in the Buffalo area.
Through the program, they can get a scholarship, and which will pay for all of their expenses, uniforms, dues, professional memberships for a period of 3 years.
That can total about $1,000, Santoro says. The program is open to anyone currently in the military or a veteran, and it comes with more than just money, as Packard found out at his first game as an official.
Our first game of the year was Lakeshore versus Lackawanna. That day I see Mike Pereira come walking up.
That's former NFL head of officiating Mike Pereira, the current rules analyst for Fox Sports football coverage, and the man who founded Battlefields to Ball Fields last year.
Why did you show up at Travis's first game? What did that mean to you?
You know, really, it was happenstance. And, you know, I was coming to the preseason game, actually was in Cleveland, had to be in Atlanta on Sunday night. And so instead of traveling back and forth, I thought, well, I'll come to the Buffalo preseason game too. And so I thought this could be really cool. I've never really seen one of my guys work their very, very first game. All of the things that are good about people I saw in Travis. He was a guy that supported our country, was in the service, had a wife and a new child.
How did this program come about? Why did you start it?
You know, it came about on a drive. I had just come off of running into a couple of vets that were struggling. And so I'm thinking about them as I'm driving. And then, of course, I always think about officiating. And I was thinking about the shortage around the country for amateur officials. All the things, the confidence, the things that you need to be good officials. I thought to myself as I was about halfway through the trip in a little town called Weed, California, the thought came to my mind, could we mesh these two together?
Slow whistles, guys.
Yep.
All right.
Packard just wrapped up his first year on the field. Here he is working a game between Wilson and Roy Hart. We found out he's not shy about his story.
I was going to join the Army. I was probably days away from enlisting in the Army, and I was working at Mighty Taco at the time. I was working the drive-thru, and an Air Force recruiter comes through the drive-thru. If that's not meant to be, I feel like a big part of why veterans do well in officials is there's a lot of parallels between the teamwork. And a lot of officiating is you're going to get yelled at a lot by coaches, by fans, and us military guys and girls we've taken that before.
His ultimate goal, of course, make the NFL, but he knows on this field there's still a lot to learn. Fortunately for him, there are plenty of teachers.
Yeah.
I saw it, but I didn't want to.
Unless if it's clear that he's in there, but anything like that, if they're coming in and he's holding up, they're going to have the better view of it.
What's the number one piece of advice you can give him moving forward? He says his ultimate goal is to reach the NFL. How does he get there?
Well, I mean, it's by reps, and that's the number of reps that you can work. You got to get experience, and I always tell new people, you know, I say this: you have one mouth and you have two ears, and really that means listen twice as much as you talk.
Putting on that uniform and going out and doing a service, one way or the other, you're serving the public, and that's what's big for me. I like to serve. I've been serving in the Air Force for 11 years, and now my first year officiating, I feel like I'm going out and I'm helping the sport that I love, whereas here I'm helping the country that I love.
Very good. There are 175 people nationwide participating with the Battlefields to Ball Fields Foundation. 2 of them are from the Buffalo area, including Travis, of course. This is a program open to people interested in all sports, not just football, and we will have a link to more information on the foundation on our website, WIVB.com. News 4 at 6. We'll be right back.